Welcome to Dominion Ministries. I'm Ben. Glad you'd join the video today. I'm out taking a walk. Well, I'm hiking actually right at the moment. I have a lot going on, and I just needed to get away to seek God. Just needed to get away to hear His voice. And it's important. I prayed in tongues for a little bit and had some worship and listened to some teaching, and besides praying in tongues, prayed just regular prayers too. But I just spent a lot of time just silent and listening. And as I was just seeking God, I came up this particular trail, and pretty much right back to where I'd started, down this particular branch of a trail. And I realized I'd walked this big loop, which is fine. With me, I didn't take the long loop, I took the short loop. I didn't realize where I was coming out of and where it was going to pop out. But I came across a fork in the road, if you will. We talk about down at the crossroads, not talking about selling your soul to the devil. But, we face these moments where we're at a fork in the road or at a crossroads, and we're trying to decide what to do. Well, the book of James says, if anyone lacks wisdom, let him ask God, who gives liberally without finding fault. God is a liberal when it comes to wisdom. If only both Democrats and Republicans would ask God for some wisdom and get rid of their worldly demonic wisdom. But a few years ago, as I popped out of that fork in the road, back kind of where I was at, had started down this long trail, long for me anyway. I was like 2 miles. I was reminded of a dream I had. So in this dream, several years ago, I'm in the Judean wilderness tending sheep. And Jesus appeared to me. I've had 3 dreams where Jesus has appeared to me and spoken to me. The first one was extremely profound. The second one, I still can't make sense of that one. I don't know what it means. And the third one was the one I'm sharing now. And he said, listen, I've given you my sheep and you can lead them wherever you want them to go. And I looked up and I looked off in the mountains in the distance. And I said, I love the mountains, Lord. I think I'll lead them to the west, to the mountains. Well, then I second guessed myself and I kind of got fearful. I'm like, well, Lord, is that the right decision to make? And Jesus laughed at me. He laughed and laughed and laughed. And not embarrassingly, right? He's like, son, I told you to make a decision. Don't you think of my sovereignty? I'll get you where I want you to be. Sometimes we make the will of God out to be some big, deep mystery, and it can be. It really is, like something that we have to discover. But I found that as I walk faithfully with God, He gets me right where I need to be. And as I came out of that trail back to the fork I had kind of started back at on that particular leg of the trail, it's probably like 4 miles total. That portion was 2. Coming back on the main, walking down the main part of the trail now, back to where I started from my vehicle. Sometimes we got to make a decision. So my wife and I this week sat down with 2 prophets and put everything on the table. Listen, I know what the experts say. I know what my family says. I know what people at church say. I know what my board says. I know what the leaders at the district office say. And everybody's got an opinion, but I said, here's the deal. I really need to know what is on the heart of God. I really need to know what does God say right here, right now, about what decision to make and which direction to go. And the older of the 2 prophets, a well-seasoned woman of God, said, God is going to let you make that decision. Now, that is the second time in 16 years where we've been given that opportunity, if you will. The first time we had that opportunity, we landed right where we are now, at the church where we're pastoring. We came in simply to attend. Then I was volunteer youth director. Then I came on staff as youth pastor, and eventually took over the church as the lead pastor. And we're just, we have 3 kids and a farm and other ministry interests, but we also love our church, and we want to continue to serve God there. And there's some other business opportunities that God is doing for us and that we're working on. And so it's like, what should we do? And God reminded me of that when I came around that trail. Listen, you choose a direction and you go walk down that path. But either direction you go, I'm going to land you right where I want you to be. And we can't avoid making the hard decisions in life. But sometimes God, I think some of us seeking the will of God is if you will, in a way of avoiding making the tough decisions for ourselves. I don't want to have to avoid making hard decisions. So we have things laid out before us as a family. And I'm sure you do too. You're trying to make sense. Well, the economy is like this, and this is the needs of my family, and this is what God is doing right now. And these are the things that God has put in our heart, and how do we make sense of it all, and how do we move forward in all these things when it seems like everywhere that we step, it's shaky ground. And I don't know. I don't know. I don't know what decision for you to make. But I know this, that if you will earnestly seek God and walk with Him, and if you will make decisions with prayer, with fasting, and with getting wise counsel, right? I've talked to people at my district office, at the Assemblies of God. I've talked to my church board about things. I've talked to some trusted church people. I've talked to some other pastors. Of course, my wife and I have discussed this. I've talked to my mom about it. And my mom lives with me and my wife and my kids, helps us out a lot with our 3 kids. It blesses my heart a lot to have her there because the grandkids love grandma. Our kids love their grandma. And it just warms my heart. I had a special relationship as a boy, well, even as an adult, with my mom's mom, my maternal grandmother, Grandma Carlson. What a special lady she was. She passed away a number of years ago. She always called me her special boy, or her boy. I love Grandma. We were always really close. But, we're weighing a lot of things out. But I was just reminded today is the whole reason I came out into this wilderness area was to get away from everything and distractions and seek God. And the other reason I'm shooting this video now is because I figure I'd give you a little encouragement that you seek God and God's going to get you right where He wants you to be. Choose which direction of the if you will, the fork in the road that you're going to go. Well, that path is going to weave and wind. It's going to go up. It's going to go down. Right? There's going to be twists and turns. But no matter which direction that you decide to go down, if you make it in good faith before God, is going to get you exactly where God wants you. And so that dream that I had where Jesus told me, He left the decision up to me. That's an awful lot of trust. It feels good to know that Jesus trusts me like that, to make those huge kinds of life-altering decisions for my life and for my family and for my church. Huge directional things. He's like, I left it up to you. You decide what you want to do. So that's kind of that. So anyway, hope you're encouraged. And it's part of the path of walking in dominion is seek God in good faith. And no matter which direction of the path you decide to go down, God's going to get you exactly where He wants you. Love you, friends. Walk in dominion.